it's time for Fantasy Fanatics.
Welcome into the show, Fantasy Fanatics on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuppridge.
I'm Andrew Freeman.
And who else is here?
And I am Ryan Risky.
Yes, Ryan Risky's here with us as well. All right. We had a very, very blowout Thursday night typical game last night between the Packers and Vikings as the Packers won 42-10.
The average margin of victory in these Thursday night games is 35 points.
Indeedy. I like it. And that brings us to
Thursday Fantasy Recap.
the recap on the Thursday game.
Right. Before we get into it, we just want to let you guys know you can follow us on Twitter at Ryan Stuppridge.
At Freeman Radio.
At rrisky16.
We're going to be talking about the Thursday night game. A little later on in the show, we'll be talking about our hot shots, people you should be starting this week, people you should be sitting this week. We'll also have special guest Chris Simpson from the Daily Blitz. He'll be calling in our next segment to break it down for us, and he'll give us more expert insight on who we want to start and sit. And then after that, we will be doing our Week 5 NFL picks, and we'll also tell you who won between the three of us in Week 4. So that's the agenda today.
Remember your golden stardom last week of Santonio Holmes?
Yeah.
And he didn't even receive a target.
I know. I thought it would be a perfect idea because Brandon Marshall, I thought he was still hurt, still lingering.
He is.
I didn't think, he would get that many targets, but he did get a lot of targets.
I think Marshall only had 4 targets.
Did he only have 4 targets?
2 catches and then 2 picks.
It's Alshon Jeffrey I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Holmes had 32 snaps and no targets. So if you lost your fantasy week because of Super Rich, feel free to give us a call and complain.
I don't think anybody lost just because of me.
Or if you benched Larry Donnell because you are Larry Donnell and then you lost because you started Vernon Davis.
Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah, the Bears. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about them later on in the show, too. But, this Packers game was not even close, really, not even from the start.
How many of these Thursday night games are close from the start? I think
not
one
any.
team. I think the team that wins usually scores the first 21 or 28 points.
Right.
28-0 by halftime.
Well, remember the Falcons game? That was 42-0 at halftime.
Yes, and they pulled the quarterback. Both games pulled starting quarterback.
And then you had Kirk Cousins week, which, Freeman, it's looking like a good thing you did start Kirk Cousins.
Yes. I cannot believe it. I had Kirk Cousins and I got 10 points, and I'm like, man, I should have started Nick Foles. Was it Nick Foles?
Yeah,
Nick Foles.
I was like, and he got, 4 points? 5 points? Half of what Cousins got.
And you still lost.
Yes. Well,
there's a reason. Your quarterbacks are bad.
It's just sad when you said, you know what, I'm glad I started Kirk Cousins over Nick Foles.
you know
when he got 5 points.
You had a bad week when I'm glad I started Kirk Cousins over Nick Foles. Yeah, that's a recipe for a loss.
Well, it's still early on, too. I wouldn't get too worried about it, Andrew, because I'm sure people in our league are going to stop playing.
This week I'm already looking good. Eddie Lacy got me 25 points.
That's true, and that's a good way to start into this Thursday night recap, as Eddie Lacy had 13 carries for 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, too. So
I think he had
way to go for those fantasy owners.
4 receptions for 25 yards, too.
And at halftime, he was rocking 58 yards. And I was like, you know what?
I'm trading you.
This is what I've been waiting for, Eddie Lacy.
Exactly.
This is why I've been losing. You've been giving me crap, and now you're doing good. Thank you.
Yeah, at least he's doing good now. And Aaron Rodgers, of course, continued his success. He threw for 156 yards. He had 3 touchdowns as well.
See, that's the thing. There's these blowouts, except the quarterbacks aren't racking up the yards for fantasy points. Like Matt Ryan, when they scored 56 points, he only threw for 280 yards.
Right.
See, the quarterbacks, they're not racking up these ridiculous fantasy points like they should when you see how many points they're scoring.
Is that because defenses are better, or
Thursday night games, one team is either bad, one team's bad and one team's good. The logic of Thursday night football. I mean, when the average margin of victory is over 35 points, I think you need to do something about these Thursday night games.
I agree with that.
Maybe only the bad teams should play on there. Put on Thursday. Put Jacksonville and the Raiders.
You know, it's better, though, that the Thursday night games aren't on the NFL Network anymore. I think they realize no one is watching it on the NFL
no one has
Network.
the NFL Network.
It costs cable costs enough as it is. Why would I want to pay more for the NFL Network?
You see, I have WoW, and then they just sent us an email randomly that said, "Oh yeah, we got the NFL Network, so we got it for free." They literally just sent an email saying, "We finally got the NFL." This was last year, and they're like, "Yeah, we just got the NFL Network, and then here's the channel number."
Well, they're giving it all away for free now because, you know, they used to have you pay more for the Red Zone thing, and now on NFL.com for your Gamecast, it shows you every score. It plays every single score. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Now, another thing to note about this game: the Packers are over 500 now. They're 3-2. The Vikings fall to 2-3. Part of the reason why the Vikings lost so bad is because Teddy Bridgewater was ruled out for this game, and they had Christian Ponder, who was pondering way too long in the pocket.
Yeah, you heard me screaming on the internet, "Play the Green Bay defense!"
Yeah, please play the Green Bay defense.
Teddy's not going to play. Well,
here's the thing: had Teddy played, do you think Green Bay loses?
No, I think the Packers still would have won, but they could have put up a fight at least.
Yeah, maybe Asiata would have gotten more than 73 rushing yards.
Yeah, Matt Asiata could have definitely had a couple.
Minnesota would have been on the field longer, so the score differential would have been, a little bit closer.
Yeah, wasn't after the first half, I think Ponder had completed 4 passes for 22 yards and a pick.
Now his total completions, he was only 22 for 44.
It was
That's
bad.
Pretty bad.
It was bad.
No,
50%.
Remember that game last year when Josh Freeman played against the Giants defense for the Vikings and he completed like 28% of his passes?
I do remember that.
He was like 17 of 50 something.
Ponder also had 2 interceptions.
One was a pick six to Julius Peppers.
Yes, and that makes Bears fans upset, of course. But I don't know what to say about him.
He was fast. He was super fast.
I don't remember seeing that last year with the Bears.
Oh, that's part of the reason why they parted ways with him.
He caught the ball, and he cut up field, and I was like, who is this?
I just think he wasn't happy in Chicago for some reason or another. I don't know. I feel like
maybe it's because he was
making
so much money that he didn't feel motivated to play enough.
That could be it too. And then Matt Flynn also came in after Aaron Rodgers after the game was over.
Yeah,
he was 3 for 5.
Okay,
he also threw an interception.
Here's the thing: that's embarrassing when the other team's backup quarterback comes in, not only because you're losing by so much, except because it's so early in the game that he has to throw passes.
Yeah.
Like, remember, was it T.J. Yates completed like 10 passes against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Thursday night because they took out Matt Ryan at like halftime?
Right.
Like, that's just, it's one thing when the backup's in just to run the clock out. It's another thing when he's actually coming in to complete passes.
Now, Eddie Lacy had a big breakout game.
Yes,
a lot of people were a little concerned about him the opening weeks as far as fantasy because he wasn't doing too well. They weren't handing the ball off to him that much. The Packers were losing. They were 1-1 and struggling. But now he definitely had a breakout game, and you should definitely hold on to him.
Their schedule in the first 4 games was pretty difficult.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially
Seattle
defense. Yeah, defense.
The Jets went out in front, and then they blew up, and the Packers got lucky with that one.
Another thing is that Jets run defense, though, regardless how that game went, Eddie Lacy wouldn't have done much because of that run defense.
Their front sevens is good. It's a good front seven, but if you have a good quarterback, he could pick off the secondary pretty easily.
Especially when you have one of the worst secondaries in the league.
Yes.
As far as receiving for the Vikings went, they didn't have much. Their leading receiver had 4 receptions, and that was Thielen.
Some random guy no one knows.
Wasn't Jarius Wright?
Jarius Wright had 3 receptions.
It's kind of funny that Greg Jennings is getting paid to be a number 1 receiver, and he puts up like number 5 receiver numbers per game.
2 receptions, 31 yards. His long was a 17-yard catch.
And that's the thing. He's doing that like almost every game. Last year, I think he only had 500 receiving yards.
Yeah. And Matt Asiata, I know I was watching the game then when he broke away for a first down and more and then fumbled the ball. Got it poked out.
He had a bunch called back, too, for holding.
Mm-hmm. It was not a good day for the Vikings. The Vikings are back to what we expected.
At least that officiating wasn't as bad as the Bears-Packers game on Sunday.
True. That was really bad.
That was awful.
That was an embarrassment to the NFL. And then the refs association was complaining at the NFL about those calls.
Right.
Like, you're defending your own players for I don't think there was one good call in that game.
And
I don't think
another player that really came out on Thursday.
Yeah.
Like I said, Green Bay defense.
Yeah, they did.
2 interceptions, 6 sacks, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown. I got 22 points on DraftKings. I put money on this. I dropped all my defenses and put Green Bay for 3 of the defenses.
Well, that was a smart move. And
did you do that in Fantasy Fanatics?
No.
No, he didn't do that in our own league.
I don't want to drop 49ers defense.
That's
drop
the thing.
A bench player.
I could. I don't know. I'm not that good at fan. No, I'm just.
It's
kidding.
tough. Are the Packers even available? Is the Packers
they're available in every single league because they're horrible.
Wow. But this would have been the week to pick them up for sure. Yeah.
And everyone.
Well, and when they play the Bears because they like to pick off Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Remember Lambeau Field in whatever week that is, pick up the Green Bay defense because Jay Cutler saving his 4 interception game.
That's true.
But everyone at fantasy relevant for Green Bay got good points.
Who do the Vikings and Packers play next?
Packers.
Any idea?
I'm not sure who the Packers play.
I don't remember who the Packers play. We will get that up before we go to break.
I'll do that right now.
Yeah. We'll get that up before we go to break. Actually, okay.
All I can remember is who the Bears play.
I have it right here. The Packers are at the Dolphins, and the Lions are at the Vikings. So the Packers are going to probably have a pretty easy time against the Dolphins, I would think. The Dolphins are 2-2, and they're on a bye week this week. The Lions travel to Minnesota to play against the Vikings. That should be a pretty easy time for them as well. So this is going to be tough. The NFC North, it's looking like the Lions and Packers right now are definitely setting themselves apart. But we will take a break, and we are going to come back, and we're going to have Chris Simpson from the Daily Blitz 61, and he will tell us who to start, who to sit this week in Fantasy Football Week 5. You don't want to miss that, so stick around to Fantasy Fanatics, SportsTown, Chicago.com.